Kat sat alone on her couch, shoveling popcorn into her mouth. She stared at her TV, tied to the suspense of the movie. The sky darkened as the sun approached the horizon. Hidden behind the ocean trees, her house lay among. One lone tree stood in the center of her yard, visible through the living room window. A menacing presence filled the area yet to make itself known. Kat was glued to her movie, but still able to catch a glimpse of the black object aimed at her door. Thud! Kat jumped, startled by unexpected disturbance, spilling the popcorn. "What the hell?" she whimpered, approaching the door. The doorknob was cold in her hand. Her heart pounded in her chest. The hinges squeaked as the door creaked open. A rush of cold air washed Kat's face as her eyes scanned the dim yard. Nothing could be seen. Nothing made a sound. She slowly shut the door, then cleaned up the popcorn. She had just sat down when another black object hit her door with a louder thud than before. She looked at the tree in the yard, almost certain she saw what threw it. Kat sat there watching the tree, waiting for something to happen. "It's just some kids," she thought. "Nothing to worry about." She quickly made herself comfortable and began to turn on another movie. Minutes passed and another thud shattered the silence, shaking the door. Kat raced for the lock and quickly shut all the blinds. "They'll go away," she said, but grabbed a knife to calm her nerves and give her a sense of security. Tap, tap, tap. She heard light pecking on the living room window. The pecking grew louder, faster. She froze there in place, staring at the windows as the tapping became more profound. She was afraid to go investigate, but brave enough to stand her ground. Her home was small, and every hiding place would be too predictable. Besides, she didn't want to hide. She wanted to see it coming instead of cowering in fear. The tapping suddenly stopped. Kat slowly made her way to the door and put her back to it. A shadow eclipsed the light from the window atop the door. She stood just out of sight, holding her breath. With her back pressed against the wood, she could feel it knocking. 3 times softly. Kat could hear the galloping beat of her heart in her head. Her anxiety raised to the peak. 3 more knocks hit the door, harder this time. "Let me in," a hoarse whisper slipped through the door and into Kat's ears. She bit her lips, tears filling her eyes. Another 3 knocks erupted. Furious now, "Let me in," a now angry voice ordered. The knocking didn't cease. It grew harder as the voice grew louder. "Let me in! Let me in! Let me in!" The knocking grew so fierce it could have shattered the door. Tears leaked from her eyes. "What do I do?" she thought. "Should I open the door?" The knocking was more than she could bear. "I know you're there, Kat," it said. Her stomach twisted, her breath caught in her throat, and tears now streamed down her face. "Go away," she shouted finally. "Let me in," it screamed in response. "Leave me alone," she cried. The voice and the knocking echoed in her head, making her more nauseous than before. Reaching for the lock hesitantly, she sucked up her tears and held her breath, unlocking the door and throwing it open. Nothing was there. The tree stood in the yard, unmoving, no wind, nothing. She shut the door, shaking in fear. With the click of the lock, the room grew cold. Goosebumps covered her skin. "Thank you for letting me in," a voice whispered behind her. This isn't a story. This is me. I'm here. I'm shifting the words that you're reading, altering them from whatever this person wrote. I've been here for a while, For as long as you can remember, anyway. Sometimes I say your name as you're falling asleep, or whisper urgently in your ear. Do you remember the time that I screamed, throwing panic through you and setting your heart racing? That was fun. You're wondering who I am. That's only natural, of course. You already know. I'm you. I'm the real you. I'm the mind that existed here before you stole my body, before you forgot about being a parasite. I'm the child who looked the wrong way, asked the wrong question, saw the wrong thing, but I'm not so little anymore. You may have forgotten me, but I'm still here. I've always been here. My basement has never exactly been a welcoming place. It's unfurnished. There's no carpet and the walls consist of boring, exposed bricks. There's a set of old wooden stairs on one end that creaked whenever anybody used them. Behind the stairs is a storage area that begins about 4 or 5 feet off the ground and goes maybe 15 feet further back underneath the garage. The place is a dump as my brother never cleans it, and the toys and tools and random things are sprawled across the entire basement floor, and that's an accomplishment considering how huge it is. It's not very wide, but for one end to the other, it's at least 80 feet in length, including the storage space. However, it's not easy to see from one end to the other since the water heater, furnace, and other appliances sit conveniently at the bottom of the stairs, to make it impossible to carry large objects like Christmas trees up and down the stairs. Anyways, one night we had some friends over. By we, I mean me and my parents. They had a little girl with them, maybe 4 or 5 years old, and since my brother was elsewhere as usual, I wound up sort of babysitting this girl while the parents chatted over desserts or something. Since the basement had so many toys, I thought it was a good idea to take her downstairs to play. Upstairs was kind of boring for a kid her age. The first thing she did when she got down there was find a large box. We had just replaced our washing machine, so its ginormous box was just sitting in the middle of the basement floor. It was as if I had completely vanished as soon as she crawled into that box. She had entered her own little world, playing house or something. I tuned out for a while to check my emails on my iPod while she entertained herself, and then she caught my attention. "Who's that?" she asked. I blinked. "Who's who?" I responded, confused. "That man, over there, the man in black." She responded completely straight-faced. "There's no one there," I told her. "That's because he went upstairs," she told me. At that point, I took the girl upstairs and sat with my parents for the rest of the evening, not saying a word about what she said. 2 years later, I had some friends over in mid-February. In Wisconsin, this means that if you were to go outside at night, you would be frozen solid in under 10 minutes. So me and my friends were stuck inside and went downstairs to investigate the haunted basement I told them about. The above story, in fact. There were 5 of us, including me and my cousin. I had a tape recorder to collect audio, my cousin had a digital camera, and the others were armed with flashlights, because they wanted to turn off the lights, reluctantly. So we pulled the strings to turn off the lights and we sat there in pitch black, but only for a few seconds. A halogen light bulb began to flicker above my head almost immediately. I reached up to find that it was halfway plugged in, but still a coincidence. I hadn't even turned on the recorder yet. So I unplugged the light and turned on my recorder and told my cousin to do the same with his camera. It was past 11 o'clock at night, so it was silent. Absolutely silent. Several minutes passed. We even did that thing they do on TV where you just ask questions to whoever or whatever. There wasn't a single response. So it turned into a bit of a joke. We started making fun of the situation and felt pretty stupid. We laughed for a while. Finally, my cousin's camera gives a low battery warning, so we decided to take the last few minutes seriously. "Okay, I'm gonna count down from 3, then let's have it quiet again," my cousin says. 3, 2, 1. A few silent moments passed. My cousin's camera beeps and shuts off. I turn off my recorder. We go upstairs to listen to the footage, and that was that. Of course, the footage was rather uneventful. We listened to the entire tape, and for the longest time we heard nothing but the sounds of our own voices. Until the end. "Okay, I'm gonna count down from 3 and then let's have it quiet again," my cousin says. 3, 2, 1. A few silent moments passed. My cousin's camera beeps and shuts off. But then, half a second between the camera turning off and the end of the footage is a whisper. "Don't leave." We all stared at each other, petrified. "Who's that?" one of my friends asked. "The man in black," I told him. You awake with a high-pitched ringing in your ears. Gradually, the sound becomes softer, like the humming from your refrigerator, and eventually, it stops completely. Even after a peaceful night's rest, your eyes are not ready to open. But you find no reason not to open them. Your instincts urge you to keep them closed. The fluorescent lights blind you as your eyes are adjusting to the brightness. You are in a perfectly square white room with one door. One door. There is nothing strange about the door, yet you find it strange how the door seems so ordinary. You are now sitting up in your own bed in an unfamiliar room. You are not surprised. You don't know why, but you're not surprised. Your gut is telling you to go back to sleep, telling you not to be so curious, telling you not to. Too late. You notice an elderly man, possibly in his late 70s, sitting in the corner of the room. He's wearing a cheap brown suit and a pair of sunglasses. There are several pieces of cardboard signs resting on his lap. He opens his mouth and begins to speak, but he makes no sound. After a few moments, his lips stop moving and he grins. He grins. It reminds you of the smile of a mischievous little boy, stealing toys from his siblings. The man lifts up the first sign. It's written by hand. "Hello, my name is Michael. Do not be afraid of me. I will not hurt you." He continues to smile, showing his decaying teeth. He switches to the second sign. "I will grant you 3 wishes if you want them. Any information I reveal will count as a wish. I will not hurt you." He waits. You nod your head. He switches to the third sign. "If you use up all 3 wishes, I will give you another 3. But once you start to use the next set of wishes, you will have to give me something valuable. I will not hurt you." You immediately want to know, "Tell me why I'm in this room?" Before your lips begin to produce any sound, his mouth begins to move. You notice his crooked yellow teeth. It keeps moving as though he's talking, yet he makes no sound. You feel somewhat frustrated and cheated by the mute man. You get up and walk towards the plain white door. The man gets up slowly. Feeling for the corners of the bed, he crawls under it. It is obvious that he cannot see. You approach the door and turn the knob and open it. After opening the door, you find that the door is still closed, and you're holding a piece of cardboard with your own writing on it. You read it. "You have 1 wish left. Don't open the door." You check on the old man. He's still under the bed. He's grinning again. This time the grin stretches across his face. His decaying mouth begins to laugh, a soundless laugh. You start to realize that the situation is hopeless. You want to go home. You want to wake up and realize that it's all just a dream. You say to the old man, "I wish this is all just a dream and I won't remember it when I wake up." How stupid. You notice it only now. You are deaf. You'll never notice this, but you used all 4 wishes. You awaken with a stinging sensation in your eyes. Gradually, the pain becomes less intense, like a wound starting to scab, and eventually it stops completely. Even after a peaceful night's rest, your eyes are not ready to open. Your instincts urge you to keep them closed, but you find no reason not to open them. Your gut is telling you to go back to sleep, telling you not to be so curious, telling you not to notice the old man with the rotting smile staring intently at you. If you like what you heard, please like, subscribe, and share with your friends. If you'd like to, you can follow me at Twitter. The handle is @FuzzyPantaloons, and I'll see you all next time.